can we build our own workflows and our own questions? What exactly can you customize in OmniTrack? Josh?
Yeah, thank you. And this is a question that we get a lot. As Gary said, we've spoken to many firms of different varieties, both intermediaries and taxpayers for DAC6. And the purpose of today is to share the questions that we get and some of those answers to help people, all of you that are still making your assessments and deciding what to do next. These are some of the things that other firms are thinking about in their consideration in choosing a DAC6 reporting system. So OmniTrack, our reporting software, comes pre-built with a template library. There are several templates that are available in the system, covering not just DAC6, but other compliance topics as well. OmniTrack is a multi-purpose tool for compliance software for tracking, analysis, and reporting various compliance workflows. For DAC6 specifically, we have 4 pre-built templates for law firms, accounting firms, other financial institutions such as investment funds, and a 4th template for taxpayers, for corporate taxpayers on the other side of the equation for DAC6 purposes. But a template from our perspective is exactly that. It's a starting point. It is pre-built, it's complete and can be used for DAC6 purposes. But for a system to be really effective internally, it does need customization. And the answer to the question is that you can customize the entire workflow in OmniTrack. That means that you can reword every question, you can amend every piece of explanatory text, you can link to your own guidance documents, and you can add your own questions into the workflow as well. And there are a few reasons that you might want to do this, and a few things that we're seeing firms now doing as they are moving into the implementation stages of OmniTrack. One is that every firm has their own language. As you can see on the screen, we speak to one firm in the morning that will want to keep track of the partner responsible. In the afternoon, another that is looking at the matter manager, and then a third firm that might be saying, who's the billing attorney? And this sort of language is important because you're sending out the system to your staff. It needs to feel natural. People need to understand the questions in the workflow and be really clear about the information that you're collecting from a compliance perspective. It's also important if you're integrating with your own matter management software, which we'll talk about shortly, but being able to match those fields and labels between OmniTrack and existing systems you might have at the firm is important. A second reason why this customization is useful and how we're seeing firms use these options is reflective of the fact that every firm has its own types of matters and transactions, its own areas of expertise and speciality. And there are firms that want to flag different things in the DAC6 assessment process. So an example might be, we're working with a firm now that is adding a question, does this matter involve corporate structuring? And that's an example of a question you might want to add to the workflow. It's not reportable for DAC6 purposes, but what that will do will allow you to highlight the hallmarks that are likely to come up in an arrangement in which you're advising on structuring. And there are a few that are specific to the types of work that you're doing, and knowing that this is a structuring matter will help you highlight the hallmarks, and it will help you later on as well if you want to do an internal audit, review the high-risk matters that you're working on and make sure that they've been reported appropriately. Having a few questions like that to identify the practice group that's working on the matter or what the matter involves helps you identify those matters at a later stage. And a third reason I think, which is somewhat distinct, is for audit trail purposes. In addition to being a determination tool and a reporting tool for DAC6, OmniTrack is very much a compliance audit trail solution. It builds your audit trail for every matter. You can come back at a later stage and evidence your position on a matter. This is the decision we made. This is the reason we came to this decision. And here, all of the associated evidence, the documentation, and other notes that we add to the matter to evidence our position and have the audit trail in place for later stages. And the ability to customize the workflow, to add your own questions, to work out what information is important to us for tracking purposes and audit trail purposes is very important. So really, there's no limit as to what you can do in terms of customization of the workflow.
Thanks, Josh. It's very interesting in terms of customization, but one question that came up recently is, how does reporting work? And by that they mean reporting to the tax authorities. How does reporting to tax authorities work if the workflow has been customized?
Yeah, absolutely, and that is a great question. The completely flexible workflow and the completely rigid reporting structure for the tax authorities is not necessarily a natural fit. But the answer to that question is a secret source of the software. One of the key features that our development team has spent a lot of time on in recent weeks is what we call the Universal Integration Builder and mapping process. And what you see on the screen here are a few screens from that integration and mapping process. And what you do in this process, it's a flexible system that's designed to map between two different workflows. So you've got your DAC6 workflow in the system, which, as we said, can be configured, and you've got the reporting schema, which is defined by the tax authority in the relevant jurisdiction. And we match up between those two things. So every field in OmniTrack, if it's reportable, will get married up to a particular field in the reporting schema. And all of this functionality is exposed in the system. You can see exactly how the information that you're entering will ultimately be reported to the authority, what goes on the report and what doesn't, and how those two things fit together. And the great advantage from our perspective of having this universal integration builder is that as the tax authorities are slowly releasing their reporting schemas, at the moment we've got about 5 or 6 that have been made available that we've been working with specifically. But with the flexible reporting schema, it's really nice and easy for us to say, here's a new one. The Irish Revenue has published their schema, HMRC have published their schema. Let's pop that into the system and we marry it up with that integration builder screen. So as new reporting schemas come online from the different countries that are a little slower in getting them published, they'll be added in and, as I say, matched up to the reporting to the assessment workflows that you have in OmniTrack.